Angry Guy here, and today we're discussing why Gen X is the last sane generation and we're all doomed because of it. Gen X is the last sane generation and we're all doomed because of it. Guys, I have this interesting article for you that I want to share. Let's just go ahead and jump into it because it's quite intriguing. It's titled, They're Keeping It Together While Millennials and Millennials Lose Their Mind. Okay. Is Gen X the last sane generation? How they're keeping it together while boomers and millennials lose their mind. Guys, it's an intriguing thing. And I've talked about this. Many of you know I am biased towards Gen X. I am a Zennial. So I was basically born essentially right between the millennials and I'm a generation that falls between the millennials and Gen X. So it's pretty interesting. And it's funny if you notice that pretty much all the millennials that have really achieved anything in this world, have created anything. And even if I don't agree with it, we still have to, acknowledge it. They were all older millennials. Mark Zuckerberg, old millennial, or WhatsApp that was created by Gen Xers. Pretty much like all of social media was created by millennials and Gen Xers. Search engines created by Gen Xers. Much of the technology around us today created by Gen Xers. It's pretty darn insane. TikTok created by an old millennial. It's absolutely crazy. Well, this article pretty much delves into something interesting, saying Gen X is often associated with being the middle child, as they are between the innovative millennials and the influential boomers. Innovative millennials, that's so interesting. So to be clear, they say innovative millennials, and I'm not saying that millennials haven't created things, but I mean, when you think about the things that have actually made any real major difference in our lives from a positive aspect, that's come from Gen X. I mean, Elon Musk is a perfect example of this. With self-driving cars, uh, like spaceships that can, rockets that can land themselves. I mean, the list goes on and on and on and on. Gen X is an extremely innovative generation. It's just that people like to crap on them. Well, anyway, let's continue reading this. So, however, societal norms are changing and the digital age has taken over. This means we're all starting to realize that Gen X might be the last sane generation. They have a unique blend of modern adaptability mixed with old school values. And here is a look at why Gen X is the voice of reason in the chaotic world we live in. What is that Gen X is cool. I've always said this before. I said it before and I'll say it again. Gen X is like the cool older brother that came home from work, went down to his basement, smoked his pot, and never messed with anyone. All right? And he was always down for a conversation to talk about life and just to hang out with. And he had a great record collection. All right? Good guy Gen X. Never fucked with anyone. That's Gen X, all right? Gen X was a great generation. Okay? And they're one of the most, and now they're literally the most beloved generation. They are. Think about all the great media that we've had. Okay, E.T. That's Gen X. The Karate Kid. That's Gen X. Back to the Future. Again, Gen X. There are very few things from the Boomer era that we still talk about. I'm just being very very honest. All right. Oh, the Superman movies with what's his name, Christopher Reeves. Yeah, that's Gen X also. That's Gen X also. Oh, but what about the video game consoles and all of that stuff? You mean Nintendo? Because we had our Atari. Yeah, that's Gen X too. Okay, literally nothing good really came out of the Boomer era. Oh my goodness, I've got you. Star Wars. Nope, that's Gen X also. That's Gen X also. Star Star Trek. Well, I mean, if you're talking about the original series, which was canceled pretty quickly, don't get me wrong; those were some really great series. That was a great show. But if you're talking about the show that really made Star Trek into a household name, the Next Generation, yeah, that was also Gen X. That was 1980s. I mean, everything of value that we love today came from Gen X. Pretty in Pink, Gen X. Clerks, Gen X. Kevin Smith. It just got Lethal Weapon, Gen X. Terminator, Gen X. Okay, it's getting embarrassing at this point. It really is. Saved by the Bell, Gen X. Boy Meets World, that's borderline Gen X. Gen X, old millennial. All right. I mean, guys, even the movies that were like kind of like a joke, like Ferris Bueller's Day Off, that's now a freaking classic that you have to pay good money if you want to watch. All right. In the 90s, Ferris Bueller's Day Off was like it's Ferris Bueller's Day Off. That's an old movie. In 2023, Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Oh, that's a prestigious film because it's like it represents a time when people knew how to chill the F out. My gosh. Mallrats. I mean, guys, it's crazy. It's absolutely insane. It's absolutely insane. Guys, even a lot of modern day shows that have been popular in the 2000s have starred either the very oldest of the millennials or Gen X. What am I talking about? The Big Bang Theory. Almost everyone in the Big Bang Theory were Gen X. All right. Oh, you didn't know those guys? They were either Gen X or very old, or the oldest of the millennials. But most of them were Gen X, straight up Gen X. All right, and it does not end there. It's a King of Queens, Gen X. Like you just start just like keep naming off the shows, and either they took place during the Gen X era, or they're all or the people who starred in them are all Gen X. Friends, Gen X. Nobody talks about the Flintstones anymore. Let's be realistic. The Flintstones were great, but nobody talks about the Flintstones anymore. I miss the Jetsons, but no one talks about the Jetsons anymore. I do miss the Jetsons. Thought the Jetsons were pretty damn cool. But still, everything came from Gen X. Batman the Animated Series, X-Men 97. Come on, y'all. It's hard. It's hard. It's hard to admit it. You know, they're the last sane generation and the last likable generation. They're not like guys, the millennials are too extreme. You can find some decent older millennials, the oldest of the millennials. You can find some decent people amongst the old millennials. We're talking about like the 38-year-olds, 40-year-olds, the very oldest of them. But the youngest, they're terrible. They're absolutely terrible. They're basically on the cusp with Gen Z, and we already know what Gen Z is. The Zoomers at Gen Z, they're basically zombies. Swipe, 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 swipe. They don't even know what the heck a rotary phone is. Let's keep reading this. Let's keep reading. They have a unique blend of modern adaptability mixed with old school values. And here is a look at why Gen X is the voice of reason in the chaotic world we live in. All right, we'll jump over there. A desire for authenticity. That's a good one. We have so much fakeness in the world, including facades and filters. However, Gen Xers want authenticity and highly value genuine connections, but they tend to be skeptical of things that are too curated and polished. Gen Z, on the other hand, they are the fakest people you will ever meet in your entire life. The millennials started it, and the Zers finished it. You can't trust anything about these people. All right, everything is behind the filters or heavy amounts of makeup, and as soon as our fake up, and as soon as they take it off, you're dealing with a whole different person. All right, let's keep it moving. Grew up without the internet but adapted. Man, I remember those days. I miss those days. Remember Scholastics magazine? Remember Goosebumps? Remember Goosebumps? How awesome that was, guys. Remember rushing home to watch Power Rangers back when UE actually used to get an entire season of shows. We'd go and we'd watch. Power Rangers would show after school. Listen to this example of things. Power Rangers came out back in like 1993. That was 30 years ago, which tells you how old I am. I'll be 40 next month. And it's like back in those days, it was so cool coming home and watching cartoons in the evening after school, and then there was Saturday morning. And for those of us that didn't have cable, we had, there was Fox, there was Fox Kids, and they had some decent cartoons on there. There was ABC, there was WB, and I mean, you had so many different shows to choose from. Guys, you remember like one Saturday morning, 5 hours of old farmers, what you need one Saturday morning. I can't sing for crap. But guys, it was so 5 hours of summer, one Saturday morning. Oh my gosh, guys, I miss those. Like, you look back at them nostalgically because everything is so bad now. It's like I look back at Boy Meets World and I think we took Boy Meets World for granted. Y'all remember Urkel? Y'all remember how awesome Urkel was, guys? Like things like now, like it's like you looking back at these shows and you're like, I want to go back because those shows were so inventive. Like literally, like they used to have to actually think, and they actually had to act back then. Like Jaleel White, that's a Gen Xer. And guys, they remember like the transformation machine. They would go from Steve Urkel to Stefan Urkel. Like it was insane stuff. You remember TGIF? Thank goodness it's Friday. It's Friday, and all those different shows that you had on there. You had Family Matters. You had Step by Step. You had I think Boy Meets World was there. What else was there? I mean, you had a good couple shows there. You had some really great shows back in the day, man. Like I tell you, it was a feel good. It was feel good times. Y'all remember hanging with Mr. Cooper? Some of y'all may not even remember that. Remember hanging with Mr. Cooper or the Wayne brothers? Oh, guys, you remember the Wayne brothers? We're colored and we're happy and we're living and we're colored. Da 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 da. Give us a high five. Cut and print. Beautiful, guys. Dynamite. I can still remember that. Like almost 30 years later. Alexa, what year did the Wayne brothers TV show come out?
This might answer your question. The Wayne Brothers TV show came out in 1984.
Okay, that's definitely wrong, but it came out in the 90s. It says in 1984, but it did not come out in 1984. Let me double check that because like I'm really feeling that right now. Let me check that again. Like, what year did it come out? The Wayne Brothers 19. Check that out. The Wayne's Brothers 90s TV show. The Wayne's Brothers 90s TV show.
In living color. According to IMDb, in living color, the Wayans siblings present an African-American focused sketch comedy show.
All right, guys. So, the Wayne Brothers TV show started in 1995. That was in 1995, which is pretty cool. All right. It went from 1995 to 1999. So that's 28 years ago for Gen Z that can't do math. And it's crazy. I mean, guys, you remember all of these shows? You remember all of these great shows? You remember Growing Pains? Oh my gosh, Growing Pains. I think that show started back in the 80s. Oh gosh, and it's so unfortunate that the father for the show, he passed away a number of years. Robin Thicke. What's his name? Robin Thicke? Or that was that the son or the father? Alan Thicke. Robin is the son. Alan Thicke passed away. I'm just getting nostalgic right now. I know. I mean, like, I'm here and I'm supposed to be reading this, going over this, and I'm just reminiscing though. I'm just reminiscing. Gosh, guys, you remember do you guys remember playing like the original Pokemon Red and Blue? You remember how imaginative that was? It was so unique. And then remember when we got blue, when we got gold and silver, and I think it was gold and silver that were just like absolutely insane. I think it was either gold and silver or black and white, and that they introduced night and day in it. It was so cool because like now you can like collect Pokemon at night, and the kinds of Pokemon you collect at night was different than the type kinds of Pokemon you could collect during the day. And it really felt like you were in a real living, breathing world, because depending on where you lived, the time zone would change with you. So when it became nighttime where you are, it became nighttime in the game. And this is stuff that they were doing so many years ago. We haven't seen things like that in a lot of games recently. Like that, like literally, it feels like it's like literally a new reality. It feels like it was so amazing. I don't know, guys. Like it's just different times. And this is all Gen X. This is all Gen X gave us so much. So much. Let's keep reading, about how awesome Gen X is. The bridge between generations. Gen Xers play an essential role in mediating and understanding the different generations, all because they are usually the bridge between older and younger generations. Because nobody likes the boomers, nobody likes the zoomers, and some people just tolerate the millennials because they're not the boomers or the zoomers, although they have their share of problems. Value of privacy. Every detail of a person's life can and usually is shared over the internet. Still, Gen X know the importance of privacy, and they remember when any personal issues were discussed face to face rather than behind a screen or broadcaster for the entire world to see. Guys, this whole thing of doing women basically selling it, women have been doing that for a long time. But at least with older women like Gen X, they kept their business private. They weren't all over social media. Just because a woman is a working girl doesn't mean everybody has to know she's a working girl. And don't get me wrong, people find out. People find out. But Gen Z wasn't out there Gen Z, though they're out there broadcasting everything. Gen X wasn't out there broadcasting all of their information and then making it seem cool and hip and wanting to be praised for it like it's a normal thing and a natural thing. All these chicks that are on Only Fools right now, they won't get off because they think they're empowered. And then when it doesn't work out for them, they say they're victims because it's men who use the platform. And if there weren't customers, there wouldn't be sellers. So it's not their fault for going on there and selling themselves on the platform. It's the fault of the men who use the platform, thereby giving them a reason to do it. Don't blame the addict. Blame the person who... Wait a minute. No, let me correct myself. Because in this context, the addict would be the men and the person selling the drugs would be the women. So don't blame the drug dealer. Blame the person who buys the drug. Guys, do you realize just how twisted that logic is? Don't blame the drug dealer. Blame the person who buys the drug. The person who buys it is not to be praised, but the person who sells it should be arrested. Let's keep it moving. Balanced view of technology. There is an appreciation from Gen Xers for technology, but they also know that there are some negative points to it. If they need to, Gen Xers can pull the plug on technology without needing to be attached to it 24/7. Guys, all you have to do to deal with the Zoomers is shut off the Wi-Fi, and they'll start running in the streets. Balanced political views. Gen Xers have seen the pros and cons of politics and have grown up during significant shifts. This has led Gen Xers to have a balanced and moderate political view, and they tend to avoid any extreme ideologies. Practicality over idealism. Gen Xers are the generation that is more grounded in reality, but also dream big when needed. They prioritize feasibility over idealism, even though they also understand the importance of practicality. Gotta love Gen X. Good guy, Gen X. Appreciation for hard work. Gen Xers understand the importance of dedication and hard work, but also value the work life balance. Gen Xers have seen the economic downturns and always have the hustle to make ends meet. Let's keep on going. No need for constant validation. Younger generations need a lot of validation, but Gen Xers are happy without it. Because of their self confidence in their abilities, they don't need to rely on others to tell them they're doing a good job and their worth. Skepticism over blind acceptance. Due to growing up in an era where there was a lot of change, Gen Xers have a skepticism that could be deemed unhealthy. They don't accept information at face value and tend to have critical thinking skills. Oh, good guy, Gen X. Good guy, Gen X. Ugh. It'll be a dark world when they leave us. Resilience in the face of change. Gen Xers have faced a lot of change from economic recessions to global crises, and they have developed a unique sense of adaptability and resilience. Navigating cultural shifts. Gen Xers have gone through many cultural shifts with the rise of hip hop and then moving on to the grunge movement. That's so cool. The grunge. Remember, guys, remember grunge? They are used to trends coming and going, giving them a more extensive perspective on societal changes. Embrace diversity. There have been many cultural and social shifts during the Gen Xers era, including an acceptance of diverse backgrounds, lifestyles, and orientations. Let's keep on going. So, guys, that's really how it is. That's really how it is, you know? And you have to just realize that Gen X is just that generation. They're the generation that everyone loved. They're the generation that is beloved. And there's a reason why they're beloved. There's a reason why Gen X is beloved by so many, beloved by many, because Gen X, they're for the most part as a generation, they're chill and they're practical and they're easier to talk to. Millennials are extreme. You're constantly walking on eggshells around them. Gen Z, no one even wants to be around them. Aside from their terrible personalities and lack of communication skills, which they blame on everyone else, because they're basically iPad kids terrorizing society. And their response to that is, who gave us those iPads? You gave us those iPads. All right? You say we suck. You're the reason why we suck. These guys are miserable people. They're miserable people. Absolutely miserable and terrible people. And they're crooked. All right? What they're trying to do is mooch off everyone else. Okay? They can't read, can't write, can't do math, don't want to work hard, and don't really have the skills for it. So they're trying to take easy jobs and tax everyone. They want to deliver food and make $50 an hour. That's the thing. This is why, guys, they're literally these punks are literally quitting their jobs to go work as wait staff or go work or delivering food because they can make more money extorting people, making the lives of people miserable. All right, like no food, like no tip, no trip. You know, you go to a restaurant for pickup, and they expect a 20% tip for pickup. They literally are expecting you're in the drive-through, and they're trying to collect the tip in the drive-through. You know, it's like we're all kind of just like waiting for McDonald's to try that crap. Like, yeah, try that crap. Try really try that crap, McDonald's. Talking because McDonald's, guys, y'all remember when McDonald's was cheap food? No, like people like McDonald's, like now McDonald's is like, oh, our food is the greatest. No, McDonald's, your food is not the greatest. You had your Big Mac, your Big Mac was probably your best thing. Big Mac and your McFillets and your cheeseburgers weren't too bad, but realistically, people didn't eat at McDonald's because it was gourmet. People ate at McDonald's because it was cheap. All right, they ate it there was because it was cheap. A Big Mac is now almost $8. All right. 20 years ago, a Big Mac was like $3, or less than that. All right, a Big Mac meal was $2.99 20 years ago, and a Big Mac by itself today is like $7 to $8. It's almost $8. It's crazy, and the inflation just keeps on taking off. It's amazing how some people don't comprehend that there's a reason why people don't like being around a lot of the millennials or Gen Z or the boomers. Because Gen X, the generation that people like, that the boomers demonized, they were the chillest generation. They were the chillest generation. They really were. And they're still the best generation. And amongst the most talented, like the best graphic novel artists are Gen X. Let's just be very honest. What do you guys think about this? What do you make of my thoughts on this? You know, Gen X is the last sane generation, and we're doomed because of it. Because after Gen X, what do we really have? The millennials, the boomers. The boomers are just terrible. The zoomers are the boomers part 2. Okay? They're the spawns of Satan. Guys, what do you all think about this? I want to hear your thoughts in the comments. So let's talk about it more there, because I have to know what you think. All right? Like the video if you like it. Don't forget to subscribe. And if you like the video, share the video. And just remember that all roads lead to MWA, men walking away. And cheers.